This video is on how to express one quantity as a percentage of another. And these words as a percentage should normally appear in the question, which makes it obvious as to when we are using this process that we're about to see. So an example would be this one here. In a batch of 200 apples, 16 are rotten. What percentage? So you're going to see as a percentage or what percentage, that sort of phrase that's been highlighted in red. So we want to know what percentage of the apples are edible, meaning what percentage of the apples can I eat? Not the ones I can't eat, the rotten ones. So a couple of things to note. The units of your quantities must be the same. That's not really a problem in this question because I have apples over here and I have apples over here, 16 apples and 200 apples. So that's not a problem. The other thing I want you to think about is try and estimate your answers. If 16 apples are rotten, I know that I've got 200 apples and 16 is quite close to 20 apples. And 20 apples would be, 20 out of 200, that's a tenth. So that's roughly 10% of the apples that are rotten. So I'm already expecting that my answer, if 10% are rotten, well, that means 90% must be edible. So I'm expecting my answer to be close to 90%. It's quite important that you estimate your answer because often as teachers, we will mark work from students where they get some sort of ludicrous answer or an answer doesn't make any sense and they haven't really thought about it with respect to the question. So try and think about your answer. If you got something like a answer that was very, very small for this, so for example, what percentage are edible, and you got 2%, or if you got 13%, that wouldn't make sense when, if you look at only 16 being rotten, the majority are edible. So you've got to think, well, what percentage can I expect? So try and estimate or think about the rough size that you're expecting in your answer before you launch into your question. So if I want to work out a percentage, well, first I need a fraction, okay, and then I can convert it to a percentage. And I have the fraction. I know that if 16 are rotten, well, that means that I have 184 that are edible, 184 edible apples. So the first thing I want to do is create a fraction, then I can convert the fraction to a percentage. So I've got 184 apples out of 200 that I can eat. That is me creating the fraction. And then it says, well, what percentage are edible? Well, this is what fraction are edible. If I want to convert a fraction to a percentage, I need to multiply by 100. And so there I can start doing my calculation. I know that 100, I can divide both the 100 and the 200 by 100. 100 divided by itself is 1. And 200 divided by 100 is 2. The other way to think about it is 100 goes into 200 two times, so whatever suits you. And then I know that 2 will go into 184 because 2 and 184 are both even. So then I can cancel this 2 into 184. Well, 2 into 18 is 9 and 2 into 4 is 92. So it turns out that everything's cancelled. I've got a 92 and a 1, and when I multiply them, I get 92. It is a percentage now, so I can put the multiplication sign, and that actually makes sense. I got an answer very close to 90% like I said I would before. I've converted the fraction to a percentage by multiplying by 100, which I did over here, and then it was just a bit of fraction work to get it down to the percentage. If you are someone who struggles with fractions and multiplying, I would just put that into the calculator. I would type in, using the fraction bar, 184 on 200 multiplied by 100, and your calculator should give you the 92. You just need to remember that it's now a percentage, so you'll add your percentage sign. All right, let's look at one more example. What percentage is 800 meters of 2.5 kilometers? So you could turn this into a word problem. Jessica and Anthony were going for a 2.5 kilometer walk, but Anthony sprained his ankle at 800 meters and had to stop. So you could ask, what percentage of the walk did Anthony do or Anthony complete? Something like that. So, but the simpler version would be just writing, what percentage is 800 meters of 2.5 kilometers? So once again, this is where this point number 1 becomes relevant. Your units must be the same. Straight away, I hope you've noticed that we've got meters and kilometers, so really we need to make them the same. Probably easier to make the 2.5 kilometers into 2,500 meters. So units must be the same. Now let's try and estimate our answer. We know that 800 meters, if I think about the size of 800 meters, if I know my 8 times tables, I would know that 800 tripled is 2400 because 8 threes are 24. So that means that 800 is roughly a third of 2.5 kilometers. And I know that 1/3 is the same as 33 and a third percent. I should know that off by heart as one of my important facts with percentages. So now I'm guessing my answer is going to be very close to about 33%. So let's create the fraction. Well, Anthony walks only 800 meters out of 2,500. Created the fraction. And then I'm going to convert this fraction to a percentage by multiplying by 100. And the arithmetic seems okay because I know I can divide 100 by itself, giving me 1, and 100 will go into 2,500 25 times. Just a matter of crossing out those zeros. And then I've got to do 800 divided by 25. Well, 800 is made of many lots of 100, 8 of them in fact, and 25 will go into 100 4 times. So that means every 100 we're going to have 4 lots of 25, so that means I must have 32. So if you're confused by what I just said, let's draw out the 800s. You can always use your calculator, but as you can tell from my videos, I'm a fan of students trying to persist with their arithmetic and not ditching it all for a calculator. So there would be 4 25s in this 100, 4 here, 4 in this one, 4 in this one, 4 in this one, 4, 4, and 4. And so what I've got is 8 groups of 4, and 8 groups of 4 is 32. So don't forget you've worked out a percentage. So it turns out that 800 meters is 32% of 2.5 kilometers. And that's exactly what I expected. I expected it to be close to 33%, because, or 33 and a third percent, because I knew that 800 is close to a third of 2.5 kilometers. So my answer does make sense. I hope this video makes sense to you on how to express one quantity as a percentage of a second quantity.